Thanks for coming. My name is Dan. I'm with IDEO, and this session's a little bit different. We don't have a prize that we're giving out here. We're just talking about basically how do we get people excited about using applications built on Ethereum. So for those of you who didn't catch opening ceremonies yesterday, just like super quick intro to IDEO and it's like what the hell we're doing here. So IDEO is this design and innovation firm. We've been around for about 40 years. We have offices around the world. We've got about 700 people, and we work on a whole range of things. We got our start kind of back in the 80s working with Apple and other companies. IDEO designed the original Apple mouse as a consumer product. Obviously, Xerox PARC, the invention of like some of the underlying tech, but then IDEO was like working on it, revising it, packaging it for consumers. And really all this is about human-centered design, right? So instead of doing what a lot of us are coming here and doing today, which is like, okay, what's the cool tech that I can use that I can build that like build something that feels cool, and we're basically proving out technical feasibility. What IDEO does, our process is all around starting with the user. Starting with the human. What are the needs that we're solving? Is what I'm building actually desirable by the people that I'm trying to target? I feel like that often in the space gets layered on later. And we think that if you don't start in that place of saying like, who am I solving for? What is the problem I'm trying to solve? Then whether it's technically feasible, whether you can build a viable business around it, it's kind of all beside the point, right? If you don't make something people love, then you're not really going to get anywhere. So, IDEO has also been working in crypto, working with blockchain projects since 2015. I joined early 2015. I'd started my career working in microfinance. I was doing accounting, finance, operations. Fell down the crypto rabbit hole just as I was heading to grad school at MIT. Started the MIT Bitcoin Club, was like basically got an MBA in like Bitcoin and crypto. That was like where I spent all my time. And then came out and joined IDEO as this new team called CoLab was starting. We spent a number of years working largely on like kind of corporate, collaborative, proof of concept projects around blockchains. But at the same time, we were all like working with some very cool early stage startups, pulling them in, working on POCs with them, finding ways to help them in various ways. And then earlier this year, or actually last year, we said, okay, we're going to go deeper. We're going to start developing programs that are not about helping corporations learn, but actually really helping these startups that we're really excited about push things forward. How do we actually help them go mainstream? We've started investing, so we do invest in kind of seed and Series A stage startups in the crypto space, but we also have a startup studio program, which I'll mention at the end, that is a way that we're touching many, many more companies than we're investing in. Our startup studio, we actually probably have maybe 5%-ish of the participating companies are ones that we've invested in. It's mostly other companies we're inviting to come and participate for free because we just want to help the whole ecosystem grow. And so today, we're going to talk about magic moments because I think that's one of the things that we're frankly missing a lot of. So the reason I'm talking about magic moments today is a conversation I had with this guy, Austin Griffith, and talking about his philosophy towards development. So for those of you who don't know Austin, he developed something called Burner Wallet, and he works on a whole slew of other projects, but one of the principles that he goes by is thinking, how do I get users to that magic moment, that aha moment, as quickly as humanly possible? How do we take out all the friction, all the steps, get them to that moment where they get it immediately? So we're talking about just like making some magic here, making people excited. So before we get into what a crypto magic moment looks like, let's start with more traditional magic moments. The one that probably gets the most attention is Facebook, right? They had this metric that they realized early on that if they could get users to get to 7 friends within 10 days of signing up, that was like the point where people kind of like tipped over and they like got it, right? Because if you're on Facebook and you don't even have 7 friends, then there was just nothing compelling about it, right? There was no reason to be there. So what's that?
Just shitty news articles.
Yeah, just shitty. Well, back in the day, they didn't even have a news feed, right? When they were just getting started. But yeah, but there's like, even today, right? If you join, right, now you just see shitty news articles. So there's this kind of point at which people are like, I get it. I get why somebody would want to use this product. I get why it's valuable for me. And so most successful companies, probably every successful company actually, has this in some form or fashion, right? There's a tipping point or a magical experience early on that help users get it, where the product or experience feels valuable to them, feels delightful to them, and that's what then keeps them coming back. There's a fantastic book called Hooked, which talks about kind of these cycles that you can get and that are kind of reinforcing cycles and bring users back over and over. But what I'm really focused on here is just what is that initial tipping point to get people over the edge. One place where we see this a lot, I think it's kind of been turned almost into a science, is in gaming. So I played a lot of Magic the Gathering, like in college and after college. But recently, as I've been diving more and more into some of these kind of blockchain game concepts, I was like, oh, well, Hearthstone is the one that everyone talks about these things being related to, I should try it out. And so I, downloaded the client, massive 2 gigabyte install. But the experience that I had there was like, oh shit, this is something that like we're just not seeing in terms of like how optimized they've gotten the whole experience. So one of the first things that happens to you if you sign up for Hearthstone is they give you something for free, right? They're like, hey, before you even get started, here's a gift. So you get to like open up this pack of cards, you get like free cards, new cards, it's an amazing experience. And then they take you through a game where they're handholding you at the end, victory, right? You've been shown you can do this, and hey, you won, right? Like, I guess maybe in theory there's one way that you can lose, but they like set you up to win so that you have that great positive first experience. And then, oh wow, you won, and here's a reward as well. So getting users to really feel reinforcement, I can do this, this is exciting, I can win things, this is something that really helps hook you, and then they've got this whole funnel that like keeps you coming back for more and more. But this is an example of how you can get those users and hang on to them. So what does this look like? Can we start translating things into the crypto world? What is a magic moment in crypto? Today, there's really not so many. So yeah, this is a joke, but like, if you think about where we're at with anything in this ecosystem versus where traditional companies are, we're an order of magnitude or multiple orders of magnitude behind in terms of the number of users. And I think that there's a lot of reasons for this. It's not like, we should be at PayPal levels and Chrome levels with applications that are getting built today, but we've got a long ways to go, right? So if there were a lot of really compelling experiences, I think we wouldn't be as far behind as we currently are. If you look at DApp Radar, look at the top dApps on Ethereum, you can be in the top 10 dApps with 500 daily active users, right? That's nothing. And yes, I understand, like if you talk about like kind of DeFi apps and finance apps, daily actives is not the right metric to be judging by, right? We should be looking more at things like deposits, essentially assets that are kind of locked into contracts. There's different ways to look at metrics, but I think by any reasonable measure, we've got a long way to go. But really, I think there are actually some magic moments. So one of the ways that I look at creating those magic moments, back, circa 2013, 2014, I was on campus trying to evangelize to other people. One of the things that I used was saying, just giving people like $1 in Bitcoin, right? At the time, like fees were very low, it was like pretty easy to do. And I would always, to get to that magic moment, I would say, like, look, even at the point, everyone's using PayPal, students on campus are using Venmo, right? So the idea of being able to send a fast, a free transaction, like that's not that exciting. It's not gonna hook people. So what I always did was say like, okay, look, take out your phone, and I would say, I'm gonna name like 3 different wallets. I recommend all of them. Just choose one. And they would go and they would choose one, they would install it on their phone. And I would say, okay, look, I'm gonna pick a different wallet. And then I would send them the Bitcoin from that wallet. And so for people, that would often trigger them is like, oh, wow, so this is like, I'm able to send across different applications. I've just downloaded a free application, you have a different free application, and they can interoperate. There's also I actually didn't install this, or add this slide, but there's a wallet now that's for Ethereum called Argent. I think that they do a great job. The CEO gives a pretty magical moment when he's demoing it. It's a smart contract wallet that has the ability to put in the contract on chain daily spending limits. And those limits can be overridden and stuff, but it gives you time to like essentially, if you're gonna go over that limit in the transaction, you can do it, but then there's a period in which you can reverse it. So we'll do this thing where he'll like, be like, okay, give me your wallet. And it'll be like, okay, I'm sending you can see on the screen, I'm sending you $75,000 worth of ETH. So, wow. And he's like, but that's over my daily spending limit. So when I leave here, I've got 24 hours, I'm gonna go cancel it, you're not gonna get $75,000. But it kind of shows the power of what they're doing, right? The safety it adds, how it gets you there. So this idea of being able to like show what's powerful, what's different about your product, that can create this kind of magical aha moment for users. Thinking about the original kind of UX using Maker, how many of you have like opened a CDP? Okay, a few. How many of you like did it back when like this was the flow?
8 steps.
Yeah, 8 steps. No, dude, it was like 40 steps. Going from 0, it was like 40 steps. We counted this. It was
Like not having
like not having either, not having anything, right? It was like 40 steps. It was insane. Even like you had to like, there were like 7 or 8 different like transactions you had to submit separately on chain.
Yeah.
It was nuts. And you know, thankfully, that is different today. The first ones to kind of do this really well, I thought, was Instadat. They really got this down to like a 1 or 2 click process. Because they just wrapped all of those steps, all the different permissions you needed to set, all into a single transaction, and let you broadcast and send that. So that like lets you get to that aha moment so much faster. They recently rolled out a feature that I think is really cool, where it's just their interface. They're letting you deposit into Compound and earn interest on your DAI, but they've like added this little like kind of streaming ticker thing, which I find incredibly cool and incredibly compelling. Right? It's that you can see like constantly. And this is on loop, so it doesn't drop like after a few seconds, but just constantly show users like, hey, you deposited, you are instantly earning interest, right? If you go to like the Compound interface and you deposit in the Compound there, it's like, cool, you've got this much in deposit, you're earning this interest rate currently. You like come back like an hour later, it's still the same. Come back a day later, it's probably still the same, unless you put a lot of money in there, right? But just by going hexadecimal places, showing it streaming, it's like, I get it, it's exciting, right? And you can see that it's like constantly happening, you're constantly earning. Obviously it's abstracted because it's actually on a block by block basis, but this is something that like kind of helps you get there and like realize like, wow, this is really cool, right? You don't earn interest, like the feeling of like earning interest in your savings account, if you actually have a savings account that pays you interest, it's nothing like this. You don't feel like you're earning in real time, right? So this really shows like this is the speed at which this whole system moves. So another example of kind of quick onboarding is I mentioned at the beginning Austin Griffith and Burner Wallet. Burner has created this magical experience where has anyone been to like has anyone used Burner Wallet? Hands? Yeah, a few people? Okay. So Austin likes to set up these like Burner Wallet like meetups and events where they will set these kind of QR codes out there, and everyone's like probably gotten food here, right? Where you've scanned and used Square Link and done that. There's a few steps, right? You've got to like enter your email. If you gotta enter your name, you gotta create a password, enter it twice, verify your email, all these steps. Like, great. I think like Square Link's also like working on like building this other stuff, and that's understandable, legitimate. But with Burner Wallet, you literally scan the QR code, and then in your browser opens up, you've got a wallet there, And when they're doing events and stuff, there'll be money already preset in the wallet that gets to you to this magical experience of like, wow, I just scan a QR code and I'm already able to transact. Like, holy shit. And like, I think that's cool for anybody, right? Because even if you're not like thinking in the crypto terms where we're used to going through so much pain, it's still pretty cool just to scan a QR code and now you've got like essentially an application loaded with money in it, right? You haven't even like had to like, okay, I'm gonna go to the app, it's kicking me over to the app store, gotta like smile at my phone, Face ID, and like it's gonna take a few minutes to like install, and this just like gets you to that moment instantly. And that's the level that I think we should be aspiring to, is like, obviously some things we're doing are more complicated, but the sooner you can get people to that instant like, shit, I can actually do something with this is really cool, the better. So there's a number of tools for this. These ones like ran with off the top of my head, universal logins. The idea of using what we're talking about is kind of meta transactions is one way that you can do this. We don't have to like wait for confirmations on chain. You're not even deploying the contracts on chain immediately. The create to function, freaking amazing. You can start creating these experiences for users in your application. Even if you're not building a wallet, you just have some kind of dApp, you can use some of these APIs and start creating that better experience for users. They don't have to go through all those steps, because honestly, if we're all fighting over the, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands, at most like a few million like users, like we're getting nowhere, right? We need to drastically expand the market of users who are interacting with our applications if this is going to be meaningful at all in the world. And so I highly encourage people to use tools like this, even if not one of these tools, to start making your applications, get users, even be possible to get to that magic moment sooner. That last one, Bridge, that's an example. They've got like APIs and are real developer tools. The other ones have kind of more of a user-facing component to it. So the important thing here is like magic moments. Also, if you're thinking about like developers, they can be for any type of user, right? Developers are users too. So you can create magic moments even if you're not creating for end users, you're building for developers, you should still seek to create that magic moment. So one example that I think does this really well is Near. And I know some folks are actually working on something very similar to this for Ethereum, which I'm super psyched about. But Near, if you go to like their developer page, they've got this Near Studio. So it's a web-based IDE, right? And that's something that like Ethereum has by far the most advanced tooling in the space. There's no other chain that comes close to it. But when I saw the Near thing, I was like, wow, okay, you've actually got the in-browser IDE. I don't have to go through all the steps. I don't have to be like installing, worrying about like getting my node up and running. I don't need to worry about like truffle and all this stuff. I can just start doing this in the browser immediately. Like, game changer. For me, that was magical to see that, and I think I know that some folks working on this for Ethereum, and some of the other chains are starting to like be like, oh, we should do something like this too. We can create magic, even if it's not for end users. We can get there. So at this point, I just want to say like that is the presentation, and what I want to do is like then open this up, like let's make it a conversation. What are some examples that you've seen in crypto otherwise, but ideally in crypto, that you were like, this gave you that like aha moment, that like sense of like, oh shit, like this is really cool, I get it. No one's in it. Jake.
I mean, definitely earning interest in real time is like, you already said it, so I would
Yeah, like real-time interest, right? Like, wow, that's cool. Yeah.
Actually, yeah, I think that's the best move so far. The point of the CDP and whoever made that seems to be the best product.
It's so good that when you show it to mainstream people, they're like, oh, this is just a scam.
Exactly, right? Well, it's just a scam.
Well, they just don't believe that
Yeah.
it could be real.
Yeah. Another one that's kind of like that is Pull Together, right? I bet people have seen Pull Together. So it's a like a no loss lottery on Ethereum. So what they do is there's a contract that basically just you deposit DAI, they put all the DAI into Compound, and then like a week later, everybody can take out your money, and everybody can take their original money out, but one person gets paid out all the interest that's been earned in that period. It's another thing where it's like, I think the actual flow right now doesn't get users to that magic moment quite fast enough, but like the concept is pretty magical, right? Like I can play the lottery, but I like don't lose. I buy a ticket, but then I get the ticket money back at the end. Like that's pretty cool. But they also have that problem of like it feels like a scam because it's like, how can I win and it didn't cost me anything? So yeah.
One thing that I see people that I spoke to that are not in crypto that they're excited about, although there's not really a mainstream implementation of, just proof of concepts, is streaming salaries. Because like to tell people about that now, they're like, oh, I gotta do it with my paycheck, I did it every 2 weeks or monthly. Here, you can take your payment you can take your salary whenever you want.
Exactly. So streaming salary is fantastic. I'm sorry, I'm repeating everything because like they're recording and so I want to make sure I'm repeating it. But yeah, streaming salary is a great example. Like streaming interest, right? The fact that it can be kind of this real-time system, and it's not that like you couldn't, in theory, like PayPal couldn't offer you like streaming real-time payments, but they don't, right? They're not in that mindset. There's no like reason to get around offering that product. I think when we're doing those things that are crypto native, like that we can create those experiences. That's the beauty of having these open financial protocols, is that we can start building things that previously you would have had to have like millions of dollars and spend years getting all the like licenses and stuff you'd need to go build these tools. And now it's like, hey, great, like just download it and build it like yourself. Feel free, go for it. But also I think it highlights one of the kind of challenges, right? Is still that we've got so many steps, so much friction, often to get people to that point where we can show them how cool this is. We need to find ways to kind of create shortcuts around that experience. And so one thing that I didn't talk about in the presentation today, though, is kind of progressive onboarding, right? I do think that it's important that people ultimately understand if the system is different and has different risks and different dynamics. You don't want to completely abstract that away, and like the fact that there's like keys and stuff behind it. Like, I don't want us to end up in a world where we're just like all using custodians again. But I think custodians or using things like universal logins, using meta transactions, you can create essentially a custodial experience at the beginning where it can be handed off to the user once you've kind of gotten to the point where like there's something of value and they get it, you can pass it over. I think that's something that I want to start seeing a lot more of, is people saying like, oh, how do we ease people onto the path? We know where we want them to be, and like ultimately if they get that understanding, right? Like you don't have setting up a service in the early days of the internet where it was like, you send an email and like we'll abstract it and then like we'll actually print out your email and mail it to you in the mail, right? Like that's not the right thing. You need to get people used to the new paradigm to like actually get to the power of it. But we can find ways to make it easier to help people learn along the way. Yeah.
Yeah, so a big part of that, I think, like kind of the gas relay network, where you can put money into your smart contract so users don't even have to pay for gas.
Yes, gas station network, a great example, right? That's a way that you can do it. So for those of you who haven't seen this yet, just Google gas station network. There's Open Zeppelin, I think, has a nice kind of SDK around this, really easy to use. So you can participate in this network that basically lets applications pay gas on behalf of their users. So you can do that. You can set parameters around it as well, so you don't like end up having somebody like drain all of your accounts. But yeah, it's you can remove some of that friction for users early on. I know Argent is, I don't know if they're actually using GSN, but like they're paying gas on behalf of users for their wallet, for now at least. And I think that's absolutely, that's a way that you can make it feel magical, not give people the friction. Because especially the idea of like, if you have people interacting with DAI or with other tokens other than ETH, you give them that token and then it's like, but you can't pay gas, right? You need some ETH for that. That kind of is the anti-magical moment. So we want to avoid that at all costs. All right, so we are at time, and I'm going to be around. So I'm at, actually, I lost it. Okay. Yeah, anyway, there's me, there's IDEO CoLab on Twitter. And then just quick shill at the end, we have this startup studio. We're supporting startups, early stage startups in the space. Come check out our studio website, submit an application for one of our events. We also have a makeathon that we're taking applications for. If people have some flexibility. It'll be, I don't know the exact date, but the deadline for the application is September 15th. If you get invited to the Makeathon, you could then be invited from there to participate in a paid fellowship opportunity to come spend a few weeks working with IDEO CoLab, working on crypto-related projects. And then also, like, I can't believe I forgot to say this yesterday, we also invest. So we typically do checks between $250,000 and $500,000 into seed, pre-seed, sometimes Series A-ish, depending on how you define the term, startups. So come find me. We've got a table on the back of the room. I will be around until the end of the stuff tomorrow. Love to talk to you all.